Have you ever seen someone get turned away from a place that was already theirs? Imagine walking into a military base, only to be told, "Ma'am, you don't belong here." But what if the person being stopped was the new commanding officer? This is the story of a woman who walked through doubt, insult, and disbelief, and left an entire base standing at attention. Stay till the end, because what she did next will give you chills. And before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to Grow for Justice, where we bring you stories that prove one thing: respect is earned, not given to. It was a crisp Monday morning at Fort Brennan, one of the most disciplined and tightly guarded military bases in the country. Soldiers moved with mechanical precision, boots echoing against the ground, the American flag waving proudly over the gate. The guards on duty that morning were Corporal Mason and Sergeant Reeves, both known for being sharp, no-nonsense men who never bent the rules for anyone. At exactly 7:42 a.m., a dark gray SUV rolled up to the entrance. It stopped just short of the checkpoint. From a vehicle stepped a woman, mid-30s tall, confident, and dressed in a simple black coat over khaki pants. She didn't wear a visible rank insignia, nor was she in full uniform. To the guards, she looked like a civilian. "Morning, ma'am," Corporal Mason said firmly. "This is a restricted area. Authorized personnel only." She smiled politely. "I'm aware. I'm here to report to Command Office Alpha." Mason frowned. "Do you have identification, ma'am?" She reached into her pocket and handed him a file. Mason glanced at it and blinked. The name read, Colonel Amelia Hart, that he snorted quietly. "Ma'am, I don't know who printed this for you, but civilians don't get military ID cards." She raised an eyebrow. "Is that so?" Sergeant Reeves joined him, clearly unimpressed. "Listen, lady, we've got orders to keep this base secure. No one enters without clearance. So please step back and call whoever you're here to meet." Amelia's expression didn't change. She had been warned about this, warned that some men would look at her, see her gender before her rank, and assume she didn't belong. She didn't argue. Instead, she nodded, walked back to her SUV, and calmly pulled out her phone. Within moments, the base loudspeaker crackled to life. "Attention all units. Stand by for arrival of the new base commander, Colonel Amelia Hart." Every head turned. Mason froze. Reeves blinked in disbelief. The woman they had just denied entry to was now being announced as their new commanding officer. When Amelia stepped back toward the gate, silence fell. Mason saluted instantly, his hand trembling. Reeves followed, face pale. "Ma'am, we didn't realize who I was," she finished softly. "That's all right. You were doing your job. I respect that." Her tone was calm, but sharp enough to cut through pride. She didn't raise her voice, yet her authority filled the air. The guards quickly opened the gate, and Amelia entered, driving through the long road toward the central headquarters of Fort Brennan. Inside the base, word spread fast. Soldiers whispered as she walked past. "That's her? The new CO? She's the one replacing Colonel Briggs?" Some nodded with curiosity, others with doubt. A female commander wasn't common at Fort Brennan. Many wondered how long she would last. Amelia knew the looks. She'd seen them before, from male subordinates who thought leadership belonged to rank and muscle, not mind and merit. But she also knew something they didn't, that respect earned through discipline would outlast anything else. Her first day wasn't about speeches. It was about observation. She toured the barracks, spoke to officers, visited the hangar, and quietly noted every detail, from the unpolished rifles in storage to the slack shoulders of sentries who'd grown too comfortable. By noon, she had a list of 30 issues that needed fixing. When she walked into the strategy hall that afternoon, the senior officers stood waiting, including Colonel Briggs, the man she was replacing. He greeted her politely, but his tone was laced with doubt. "Colonel Hart, welcome to Fort Brennan. I trust the trip was pleasant." "It was," she replied, though the welcome at the gate could have been warmer. A few officers chuckled. Briggs smirked. "We're in a tight ship here, ma'am. The men aren't used to unexpected visitors." "Good," she said simply. "Let's make sure they're used to excellence instead." Over the next week, Amelia's leadership was unlike anything Fort Brennan had seen before. She was firm, precise, but never cruel. She pushed her troops to their limits, not out of ego, but because she believed in their potential. On the third day, she personally joined a morning run. The soldiers whispered at first, "She won't last a mile." But by the fifth, she was still in front, not a bead of sweat out of place. During training drills, she corrected strategy errors herself. When a tank malfunctioned, she rolled up her sleeves and helped the mechanics. When storms flooded the barracks, she worked beside the lowest-ranked soldiers to drain the water. Respect wasn't demanded. It was earned, one action at a time. The men who once doubted her began saluting her with pride. Even Sergeant Reeves, the gate guard who'd stopped her, became one of her most loyal subordinates. One morning, he found her polishing her own boots before inspection. "Ma'am," he said quietly, "you don't have to do that. We can handle it." She looked up with a faint smile. "If I can't do what I ask of you, I don't deserve to lead you." Her greatest test came a month later. A sudden emergency alert rattled the base. A fuel fire had broken out near the north hangar. Alarms blared, flames rising dangerously close to aircraft loaded with live ordnance. Panic spread. Before anyone could issue orders, Amelia was already there. She grabbed a fire-resistant jacket, jumped into the response vehicle, and led the containment team herself. The men shouted for her to fall back. "Ma'am, it's too risky." But she kept going, hose in hand, yelling commands through the smoke. For 2 hours, she fought alongside her team until the last flame died. When it was over, the hangar was safe. No lives were lost. And as she stood covered in soot and ash, every Marine on that field saluted her, not because of her rank, but because she had earned it. That evening, Sergeant Reeves approached her office, carrying a small box. Inside were the original gate pass documents he had denied her weeks ago. "Ma'am," he said softly, "I thought you might want these as a reminder." Amelia looked at the papers, then smiled. "Thank you, Sergeant. Keep them instead. Let them remind you. Never judge who walks through that gate. You never know who they might become." He nodded, standing straighter than ever before. "Yes, ma'am." Months later, Fort Brenton became known for its precision, morale, and unity, a model base. Under Colonel Amelia Hart's command, not a single disciplinary report was filed in her first 90 days. She transformed not just procedures, but people, teaching every soldier that true strength wasn't about domination, but dignity. At the end of her first year, during the base's anniversary ceremony, General Thompson addressed the crowd. When Colonel Hart took command, some questioned her capability, he said, glancing at the troops. But today, Fort Brenton stands as one of the most efficient bases in the region. That's not luck, that's leadership. Applause thundered across the parade ground. Amelia stood quietly, humbly, knowing the journey that began with, "Ma'am, you can't come in," had led to this moment, where no one would ever question if she belonged again. And that, friends, is how one woman turned doubt into discipline and disrespect into devotion. That if you like this story and it inspired you, don't forget to subscribe to Grow for Justice for more powerful stories that prove how strength comes from character, not titles. Tell me in the comments, where are you watching this story from? I'd love to know how far the voice of courage travels.